Are you interested in a deeply thematic and beautiful game? Stick around to see why Scythe is one of my absolute favorite games. Hello, welcome to Bad at Board Games, where we're bad at board games, so you don't have to be. I'm Toph Ferguson, and today I'm going to talk about one of my absolute favorite games, Scythe. Scythe is a game that was designed by Jamie Stagmeyer based on the artwork of Jacob Brzezowski. Beautiful artwork that takes us back to this alternate history surrounding the Great War after it has ended. The game itself was published by Stonemaier Games in 2016. It is a 4X game. If you're familiar with that, we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go throughout the review here. But the game itself is one of asymmetry and building up a tech tree to be able to be more efficient at our plays, to move around the board, to exploit resources and face encounters and explorations that will take us into kind of a storytelling mode, getting ourselves into this theme, seeing these wild things take place all along the journey to be able to complete the objectives needed to win the game. Ultimately, to become the wealthiest faction. I love Scythe for so many reasons, but one of the things that I love most about it is the artwork and appearance of the game. And I'm going to take that not only into the physical art, but also into the storytelling aspect of the game as well. I love games that we can get into the theme and we can become part of the game. Not just play the game, but actually become part of the game. With this, the artwork, fantastic. The entire universe of artwork by Jacob Brzezowski is just stunning to be able to see. You get that feel of the history, but you also get this steampunky feel based on the mechs that you'll see that have been developed by the different factions and the airships that you have that make no sense in our reality, but in this theme make perfect and total sense. The game itself, if you're not familiar with it, you start out as an asymmetric faction. The base game gives you 5 factions that you can play, or 5 countries surrounding Europa that you can play. And as you add in the expansions, you can add in more of the countries, more of the factions to be able to play. Spoiler alert, I'm going to put that in the title, but spoiler alert, this is going to show you all of Scythe. This is going to show you all of the expansions, including not only the Invaders from Afar, but also the Rise of Fenris. Throughout this game, you're going to see the factions unfold with different abilities and different starting objectives and goals. That's going to take you on this journey. And part of why I love the artwork of the game is not just in the actual game and the pieces that you have, but also in the cards that you're going to be drawing. As you go throughout the game, you're going to be facing various encounters. These encounters are primarily going to be artwork. You're not going to get a story that you have to read with this game. You're going to create your own story based on the artwork that's in these cards. And that's what I love about being drawn into this game, is that as you face these different encounters, you will see mechs that are coming up through a river, through the woods, towards you, and you get to draft that story and talk about it as you decide what it is that you're going to do in the actual encounter. The mechanics of the game are fairly straightforward. It is an asymmetric game to begin with. It does have a tech tree that you're going to be working to develop, and that is your player board that's in front of you. It starts out with some basic actions that you can take, but as you develop this game, as you play throughout it, you're going to start unlocking secondary actions for each of those initial actions. Those secondary actions cost a lot of money, but as you upgrade your board, they're going to come down in cost. And at the same time, they're going to allow you to have stronger actions at the top. It's a great play to be able to not only unlock the board, but then be able to take these pretty massive turns doing fantastic things as you get closer to the end of the game. And so that tech tree is going to be a big part of the game. Upgrading that, unlocking these abilities, that's going to be a huge part of it. On the board itself, you have resource management that you got to work through. You have hex movement. So the movement in this game is very important. It's very limiting. You can move 1 or 2 hexes. Sometimes you might be able to unlock some things to get a third movement put in based on which piece you're playing. You have the ability to enter into combat with other factions. And combat is fantastic. The way they've worked that out, the commodities that you have to spend in order to be able to fight. You've got either power cards that's going to boost your ability, or you actually have your strength that you're going to have to wager in order to be able to fight, whether you are on the offense or on the defense. Those are commodities. Those are things you are spending. You're not just saying, I'm as strong as this level. You're actually spending it, which means you're going to be weaker at that point going into a possible second battle. So there's a lot of things that are going on. Ultimately, in this game, you're going to have a lot of end game bonuses. Everything is going to convert itself to money, and the wealthiest faction is going to be the faction that's going to win. You're going to have objectives that you're going to face across the board. You're going to have encounters across the board. You're going to have some battles. This is not a war game. It is not a battle-heavy game, but battle can occur. You're going to face challenges. That is the game. Learning how to mitigate what's going on the board, to upgrade your abilities, to take better turns, to fulfill your objectives, to get the money you need to win. I love Scythe for many reasons. This is a game that had been on my wish list for quite some time. The cost at the time was a hurdle for me to be able to get the base game, so I had held off for quite a while. I finally found a copy of the game, and it was within my price range. I went ahead and picked it up, and I was hooked instantly. My first play also was with somebody who had upgraded their entire board and their resources and everything else. And so when we sat down to play, I was kind of drawn in, not only based on the play itself, but also how beautiful these realistic resources were. And that kind of, when I first played my game, which was as basic as it could be, kind of took it down a little bit for me. So I knew one of the things I was going to have to do was start to upgrade the different components in this game to get that same feel, to get that realistic feel of playing in the game. I not only started with this idea of having to upgrade my game because I wanted the feel, I quickly also realized that I needed more of Scythe. The base game alone is fantastic, but once you start adding in these expansions, once you start seeing what the different expansions can do, I was hooked and I had to get more. I wanted to know what the story would do. I wanted to see the story unfold. And so that brought me to where we are today with pretty much owning all of Scythe and upgrading just about everything that I can upgrade with the game. Everybody I've introduced this game to has thoroughly enjoyed it. Some have liked it more than others. This is maybe not a game for everybody, but even after all these years, it was published in 2016, it's now 2022. Even after all these years, it's still upholding itself as such a solid and well thought out, well executed game. And it makes sense why that's the case, because everything does play very well. Are there flaws with it? Yeah, there's going to be some. It is not a true 4X game where you really have player elimination. I'm happy for that. I don't like player elimination, so I'm glad that you can stick in, but you are penalized. You do have this ability of having to retreat when you lose battle. And that is important. That does bring it back into that 4X category. You do have exploration, But the exploration is going to be a little bit limited from what you might think of in 4X games or heavier 4X games, where you don't know what's behind a door, where you don't know what's going to be on this next space. You can see what's going on here. Now, as you face some of these encounters, you're drawing encounter cards and they're giving you a story to be able to tell. You have the feel of the 4X game in a lighter version. The game is not light, but it is in a little bit lighter of a version. One of the things I think that has drawn me into this game as much as it has is the actual pieces. The base game itself comes with a lot of miniatures. Your miniatures are going to be your character, your mechs, which you have 4 of your mechs, and that is spanned across all 5 of the factions. They look okay. You sit down to play, you see these mechs come out, they look beautiful, but they're all solid colors. And I knew I wanted more from it. And that's the one thing that has really drawn me into this even more is finally, I have had this interest in painting for some time. I said, I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to finally start painting miniatures. I didn't know how good I would be at it, but I knew I wanted to do it. And this was the game that I finally said it has to be done. Now, I will say I went ahead and collected all of Scythe before I started painting it. We wanted to play through the different factions. We wanted to play through the campaign that comes with the Rise of Fenris. That was top priority. And in the back of my mind, it was, man, these would look so much better if I painted them. These would look so much better if I painted them. So I finally challenged myself to that. I pulled out all of the pieces. I primed all of the pieces at one time, committing myself to painting this. You wanted to see the final images. You wanted to see the final pieces that I have painted. Here they are on the board right now. We're going to get some pretty close-up photos of some of these. They're not perfect. I am not a professional painter, but I think I did a pretty good job on these. And now playing the game with these painted makes all the difference. Seeing each of these characters that are coming across the board really makes you appreciate who they are, the faction that they are, the country they're coming from, the animal companion that they have. It just brings it into so much more of an immersive feel. And when you get into playing the Rise of Fenris and all of a sudden you see the Vesna fashion come out and you see these painted mechs in this bright color and at the same time a little bit of the fright of what is this going to be makes so much more thematic feel to the mystery of this faction to be able to see it all painted up. And then Fenris. Tell me that seeing this guy painted up doesn't just make you want to run away from it. I loved how these turned out. These actually might be some of my least favorite of all of the things that I painted for this game, but at the same time, they still strike this fear of this is a massive piece of destruction that is coming straight towards me. I love it. I love it. I think it just brought so much to the game to be able to see it on the table coming towards you. And so I had a lot of fun. I took quite a bit of time to be able to paint the game. I wanted to make sure that I was doing it as best as I could do at the time. There's some places I want to go back and kind of touch up and feel, but I think I'm happy with what it is right now. And at some point I might go back and touch up some of the pieces. I would love to see another expansion come out for the game, not only to be able to play the new expansion, but also to be able to paint whatever might come out for it. We'll see. It may come, it may not. Either way, I'm happy with what I've got now. I truly am. I think this is beautiful. The realistic resources, the metal coins, all the other upgrades that you start to see throughout the game just kind of brings you into that theme even more than I ever thought it was possible to begin with. So that is the game. What do I love about it? So much I love about it. I love the connection that you have with other people as you're playing it. It has a little bit of take that. It has a little bit of battle. It has a little bit of this conflict, maybe conflict more than war. And I like that. It's not too much. It's not player elimination. You don't see a lot of battle. You don't have a lot of people really ganging up only on one person. It happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen often in this game at all. You can't fight all the time. You just can't. You don't have the resources to be able to do it. It takes so long to be able to move to other people. So I like that part of it. I love upgrading my board. I think that is a fantastic game component. You spend so much time wondering what you're going to do and how you're going to get the resources you need to do it. It's very limiting. You cannot do everything. In fact, when it actually comes down to it and you're actually looking at the end game objectives, you can only do 6 of them at most. And that's only one person that's going to do 6. Everybody else at most can do 5, unless you've got some of the alternate changes that come through some of the expansions. I also love the campaign. The Rise of Fenris is one of my favorite expansions I've ever played with anything. Seeing the story of Scythe unfold more than it ever did with just the base game changed things, and it made me appreciate this game in completely new ways. If you've played Fenris, you understand what I mean by that. To see it unfold, to see your decisions making these massive changes to what comes next, a mystery that you do not know until you start opening up these boxes and saying, what is that? And what is it doing to me? I love it. I love seeing Fenris unfold, and I love seeing it unfold with new players as new players are experiencing it for the first time as well. Those are just some of my positives. I could talk a long time about this game. Negatives with this game, I don't have a whole lot of negatives. It is maybe not a game for everybody. It does have a little bit of that darker theme. You get a little bit of that cyberpunk theme, steampunk theme. You get that post-war theme. That's not for everybody. It does take a long time to play through the game to start to really understand what's going on. I think that's another thing that can be a challenge for some because of the asymmetry and because of all of the encounter cards coming up random, because of the factory cards that are coming up random, and because of, especially as you get all the expansions in there, the various choices you can have for starting the game. Every gameplay is going to be a little bit different. So introducing this to a new player, you really need to take the time to explain what's going on and walk through that first play. It is not something that a new player is going to jump in and be able to probably excel well against veteran players of Scythe. That's not a bad thing. This is a heavier weight game, but because of the asymmetry, sometimes it can be hard to teach to somebody who wants to get to know really what's going on and how can they be very efficient at the game. Everybody's going to play it a little bit different. What I recommend is going to be vastly different from what Brad recommends, which is probably going to be different from what you recommend as well if you're teaching this to a new player. So that can be a little bit of a negative. Also, once you start upgrading this game, or once you play with somebody who has it upgraded, it's going to be hard to go back to the base game and decide just to play a base game that's not painted with any of the upgraded resources. It's still a fantastic game. It still plays well, but you do miss out on that. And I've noticed that as I've played with friends who have the game who have not upgraded it. I still enjoy it. I still love playing the game. The game itself stands for what it is. It's fantastic. But all of a sudden I start realizing, oh, wait a minute. It would be great if I had this painted. I think you take a little bit more pride in it, but you also get a little bit more of that theme out of it. So I know some of my friends complain about that when they sit down to play this with me, and then all of a sudden they go to pick up the game and they realize that they're not getting everything that they see that's on this board. Not a negative necessarily in the long run. We all do that as we upgrade our games. That's some of the fun of this hobby, is making it our own and personalizing it to be my own game. Nobody else has a game that looks like this because I have painted it. And so that's a positive for me, but at the same time, it can be difficult getting new people interested, wanting to buy into the game as well. So with that said, let's get down to some of our ratings. If you know us on the channel, if you follow us, we do 3 different main scales for the rating. We do the weight of the game, we also do the value of the game, and we do our personal impressions of the game, what we think we want this game to be rated at for us based on our enjoyment of the game. Let's start with weight. BGG is stating that this game is a 3.43 in terms of heaviness. That's out of 5, so 0 to 5. I think that's accurate. I do think that's accurate. I would not put this up to a 4. This is definitely not a 4. This is not a 2.5. This is definitely going to be above a 3 in the weighting scale. There's a lot going on, especially as you get into the expansions. The asymmetry is going to take it up a little bit. The time to play the game is going to take it up in weight as well. This game takes, I think Jamie Stagmeyer said it should take less than 20 turns for you to be able to win the game once you get a grasp of what the game mechanics are. So 3.43, I think it's pretty accurate. I would have said probably about a 3.25 just off the top of my head, but thinking about the expansions, thinking about what you have to do makes sense. The value of the game, this is where I'm going to give Jamie Stagmeyer a little bit of a hard time with it. The base game itself has gone up in price. To just get the base game alone right now, MSRP is going to be at $99. You can find it online cheaper. You can find it from Stonemaier Games. Right now it's on sale. I just looked it up. It's $85. If you're a Stonemaier champion, you'll get that even cheaper. At $99 to pick up just the base game, that's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of money. The way that we rate these when it comes to the value is if it is just astronomically expensive for the gameplay and the enjoyment that you have, we're giving it a 1. If the cost of the game is so low compared to the experience that you have playing it, we're going to give it a 5. This is one of my absolute favorite games ever. But if you're going to be paying MSRP for it, I'm going to put the value of this game somewhere about a 3.5. Yes, it's a fantastic game, but $100 just for the base game is a lot. And if you want the expansions to go along with it, adding in the Rise of Fenris, adding in the Invaders from Afar, adding in the Wind Gambit, MSRP for all of that is sitting just under $400. That's a lot of money just for the game without the upgrades. You want to start adding the upgrades in, you're bumping that well over $500, maybe $600. Maybe even $700 if you're getting the neoprene mat and some of the other things with it, or all the paints that it takes to be able to paint I think there's something like 60 some miniatures in this game. That's a lot of money. Now, if you can find it on sale, do it. That's going to jump the value rating up. With how much I love this game, and I will be honest, my rating of this game is high. $100 is just a little too much for me. So with that said, what is my rating of this game? I did not rate this a 10. I started this game at a 9. When I played the Rise of Fenris, I bumped it up to a 9.5. That's how much I love this game. 9.5 out of 10. Having finished the Fenris campaign, having played through pretty much all of Scythe, I always recommend this game. I always want to pull it out. I play it solo. I'll play it with other people. I have not yet played it above 5 players. I know it can play up to 7 with the expansion. I'm not going to do that. It takes about 25 minutes per player. That's a lot of time to play. I'd rather play it with a smaller number and play it multiple times than play it one time with a huge number of people. Well worth the game if you can get it on sale. 9.5, my rating of Scythe. Jamie Stagmeyer, you did a fantastic job at making this game. It has been a blast to be able to paint. It has got me painting other games as well and kind of reignited my passion for Scythe. So thank you guys so much for joining me this day. I hope that you enjoyed my review, my thoughts of this game. I hope you enjoyed the miniatures that I've painted. If you think I did a terrible job, I'm fine. Let me know that down in the comments. If you think I did a good job, that's fine. You don't have to let me know. I enjoy it. I painted it for myself. I painted it for my friends. Did you paint your Scythe? Have you played this? Do you enjoy it? Do you not enjoy it? What do you think about Scythe? Let me know down in the comments your experience with this game and how you've enjoyed playing it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'd love to have you join us at the table for future games. If you are interested in more information, more games that we're going to be talking about reviews for, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can hear about the new videos as they are posted. Friends, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Remember, if you play solo with family or with friends, enjoy whatever games you are bringing to the table. Have a good day.